lesson was 1 through 13. Who else has a question? Oh yeah, that was the day. Alright, our goal today is to write equations that show stretches and strengths. We haven't done that yet. I misspoke when I said we were doing this all week. Actually, tomorrow's section is a little bit different. It's related, but it doesn't have to do with talking about A's, H's, and K's. So today's the last day that we have to keep talking about these models. So stretches and strengths are our last thing to add to it. So we write a function g that translates this, and a lot of people have asked me, like, do you want to go horizontally left or right? Because this 8 is a positive 8 here, it's a right, so I'm going to write that in here. I'm going to go right 8 units and up 3 units. Once you show your work, I've seen a lot of homework, and you didn't show work, students with the right equations, but they're not justifying where their numbers came from. So I definitely for today's work, be sure to show your work. I'll show you what I mean right now. Okay, to move right 8 units, should I be changing the 4 in the H spot or the 5 in the K spot? The 4 in the H spot. So I'm going to go right from there. Now to actually move this function to the right, I'm going to subtract 8. So when I go into the equation, I always do opposite. So I'm going to write x plus 4 and then minus 8. And this is what I mean by showing my work. So if I want to go up 3, I need to change the k value. So I'm going to put plus 3 at the end. And this is what I mean by showing my work. So a lot of students on the assignment yesterday were just showing this and not showing this. So move towards showing your work. The quiz on Monday, the work is required. I know it's mental math and it can be done without showing it, but plugging in and like writing it and seeing yourself write it, that's going to help you remember it longer. A big problem with math is retention. Like, how are you going to remember this when the SAT comes around, or in May when you have your final exam? So the more time you spend like justifying your work and showing your work, improving your work, it makes it more meaningful. Okay? Any questions? All right, get out your homework. I want you guys to check answers with the people in your group. I'm going to come around and give you credit, and then I'm going to show the correct answers here. And so if you're having questions, and I hope you do, I hope you have some questions as you talk to each other. I can go over them in just a moment.
Yeah. For one, are you new here? Or did you just switch periods? You're new here? Oh, so you switch periods?
You've been in this class the whole time.
Oh.
Me.
Oh god.
Did she take the homework already? Or is this the homework?
And they said
It was online.
I don't think I'll be doing that. Every single class yesterday wanted to do notes in class.
So right and left, I want to put that number in parentheses with X. Since it's less, I have to do the opposite.
What's your name? Rhino?
What's the O?
So right and left, here's number one. Right and left, to show your work, you put plus 4 in parentheses. For linear equations, it looks the same. You really don't need the parentheses. So full credit here and full credit here. Simplify for this final answer. Did I see the day before?
Oh, yeah. I didn't write any of this. I just did it. Oh. It's okay, you could be like me and be on grid. Or like, just making sure. No, I like it. But I'm saying like some, yeah, I think it looks pretty. That's just why I said it. Yeah, I was like, okay, it's pretty.
Just like people who cursive, the teachers want them to not. Because they get like wild with it.
I know, I still do it. Even though it's
You guys don't want to talk about 8? I should have questions on number 8. So 8 represents an income. So this means you're earning $5,000 per week taking pictures. Oh, it's a photography business. I thought taking pictures, and then I thought, how does someone make $4,000 a week taking pictures? Like, who are they selling them to? But it's a whole business. So maybe you're printing photos, making posters, and things like that. Maybe you have multiple photographers. Anyway, this is an income. $4,000 a week is pretty good. You have an expense of $12,000. Maybe you're renting a gallery, or you have to pay for some really expensive equipment. It's an expense. That's going to change your income. You're going to have to subtract that expense from your income. Okay? So when it says what transformation does that represent? This is your income with no expenses. You're starting at 0 and you're going up $4,000 a week. This is a vertical translation down 12,000. So this expense shifts your whole income possibilities, taking you down 12,000. Does that make sense? Okay. How many weeks did it take you to pay off the expense? 3 weeks. Yep. 12,000 minus 12,000, you break even, and then you start making 4,000 a week, I guess, for the rest of your life. So good job. Good job with your business. I'm gonna put up the answers for you guys to check now that you talked about it a little bit.
That was so out of the blue. What made you think?
I was just thinking.
I think you're gonna be a computer. Oh, what are you gonna do? Oh, so you want to look at it. I think it's gonna be like this. What kind of people?
Okay, the other thing I wanted to go over was 11, 12, and 13, particularly number 12. I think the problem is presented this way. And I want you to know that anytime you're asked to reflect across y, you just change x, only x, not the entire equation. You just change x by multiplying by 1, negative 1. So I would have taken this as a right answer. Now, did anybody have this? This is what I told you to do in class. I told you to take the x value and make it negative. I'm counting this as right on your quiz. Okay? So if you went through and changed that, this was okay. The same thing for this. If you had a negative sign here, that's what I wanted you to do. And if you had a negative sign here, that's what I wanted you to do. Yeah, I saw it. So I can tell you what the book did to change this to this. It's just not required for you right now in this course. They're working on a technicality that the coefficient of x in here should be positive. So they've rewritten it by factoring a -1 out. And then they're taking the absolute value of this -1 separately. And the absolute value of -1 is +1. And that's how they got here. Now, I don't love that. It's not required. It's extra. I just want to see that you understand that your x's should go negative. Okay? Okay, any other questions?
So the number next to the x would become positive since we're multiplying by
In this
like the 1 would be
right here.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a greatest common factor of -1. It's like if I divide both by -1 by putting it in front, it'll become positive.
Yeah.
It's like this.
Like if I divided 5 out, is it GCF? 10 divided by 5 is 2.
I took a -1 GCF. -1 divided by 2. I think what you said is correct. Yes?
Sorry, can you go through that, like how they turned it into that one more time?
It's not required, but I can. Since they were both negative, they factored a greatest common factor of -1 out. When you do that, it made them both positive. Then they did the absolute value of -1, which is a positive one, and then it's gone. All right, I have something for you. I'll give you a moment to take a picture of this in just a minute. Actually, if you want to just take a picture right now, you can. This is all 6 moves that we do on equations. So this is everything. So if you want this in your phone, like today while you're doing your homework, to have it all in one place, yeah, you can come up and take a picture. You'll need it. Now the first 4 you have already written down. The last 2 are new. You want to have these moves memorized by Tuesday. That's your goal. To have it down by Tuesday. Okay, now I'm going to zoom and talk about each one as a review, and then I'll tell you the new stuff. Okay, anytime you're asked to make a vertical translation, you change K only. Anytime you're asked to do a horizontal translation, and this is still confusing, I think, you place the value in parentheses with X, and you do the opposite sign. So if you're doing your work and you're just blanking out on which one's opposite, look at this, it's for a horizontal translation. To reflect across X, you multiply the entire thing. To reflect across Y, you multiply only the X value by -1. Okay? So those are the 4 moves that you saw in those problems from yesterday. Today we're going to practice this, and then I'm not adding anything else to this topic. If you're asked to make a vertical stretch or shrink, You read those words in the problem. Vertical stretch or vertical shrink. Either way. You multiply the entire equation by A. So let's say you have to stretch something by a factor of 2. You put the 2 outside of parentheses and you distribute in. If the word says horizontal stretch or horizontal shrink, horizontal is always more complicated. You multiply only the x value, not the whole thing, and you do the reciprocal. You flip it. So for a horizontal stretch or shrink, this part's really important. It goes right to the coefficient of x. It doesn't go to the whole equation, it's the coefficient of x. A lot like the reflection across y. Yeah, we're going to do 4. Well, I'm going to do 2 myself for you to watch and write if you want. And then you're going to do 2 in your groups. And then you're going to practice like 6 on your own before you leave. So there's going to be a lot. Ready? Ready to do examples? Alright, I'll do 2 first to get us going on this. Alright, so here's our function. It's an absolute value function. Absolute value of x minus 3 minus 5. I'm asked to do a horizontal shrink. Okay, so picture a horizontal shrink. Horizontal means this way. So shrink means we're squeezing the rubber band together. So when we're squeezing the rubber band together, this says that we're going to divide our x values by 1/3. Squeezing it together. The effect of that actually takes the y values up, right? So the effect on y is actually the reciprocal of the 1/3. So the reciprocal is 3/1. And we don't have to have a 1 as a denominator, so it's 3. Right, a vertical stretch means we want this just to be pulled, kind of pulled, everything's pulled up. Everything's pulled up by 2. So we're going to multiply this whole thing by 2 because we want, equations are y equals, we want all of the y's to be multiplied by 2, so we do the whole thing. So I got a 2, I'm going to put a parenthesis. Alright, and this is me showing my work. If I mess up after this, I'm still going to get half credit. When I read that, you understand that you multiply the whole thing by 2. That's the right operation. Okay, so I'm going to give you half credit for that. Now, performing this distribution correctly will be the other half. When I distribute in here, I'm going to go to the front of the bars and to the last number. I don't go inside absolute value bars. I did here, I just put it here. This is like an insert. We insert, but we don't distribute. So this one's called H. H of x is 2 times the absolute value of x plus 3 minus 10. So pull the way from the y-axis. Okay, now I'll put, yeah. I messed that up. The 3 should stay negative. Thank you, Mom. You guys erased it. If you copied me, this should have stayed negative. I didn't mean to make it positive. Sorry. All right, now I have 2 for you to do in your group, and then I'll show the work. And then you have some time in class to do your assignment and ask questions. Did you write down what it says about horizontal stretch? Taylor, did you write down what it says about horizontal stretch? All right, how do I perform a horizontal stretch? Pull. All right, if you only took the picture and didn't write it down, write it down. To do a horizontal anything, stretch or strength, you multiply only the x by the reciprocal. So I'm going to go from 2 over 1 to 1 over 2. So I don't need parentheses, I'm only multiplying the x value. So I'd like to help you make sense of this whole reciprocal thing. I'm going to try one more time. Yeah, what's your question? Yes. Yep. Right. Yeah. Okay, so when you when you stretch a rubber band this way, it should get shorter. You stretch it this way, it's not as tall. So our original slope was up 4/1. So in order to show that this is getting shorter, because I'm stretching it this way, I need to divide my y values by 2. And that's going to extend it horizontally. So stretching something horizontally by 2 means that I need to make the slope actually smaller. So that's why I do the reciprocal. Changes the slope. Only for horizontal. For vertical, we multiply the whole equation. Whole thing changes. What I love to see is calculators out on every desk. 1/3 times 3 is 1. And some people know that like that, and then some people don't. And some people know other things like that, and some people don't. And it doesn't matter anymore. Like multiplying fractions was like a 6th grade curriculum standard. I don't care anymore. Like what I want to know, this curriculum is can you perform operations on functions based on vocabulary, right? So I don't want you getting this wrong because you can't multiply a fraction. I don't care. Use your calculator. Use it. Get your numbers right. All right, did anybody get 7 right? Good job. All right, any questions? All right, if you look under your desks, there's chapter 1. It's a whole packet of chapter 1. Not this, not the book, the printout. Don't keep this. I think like I've already lost 3 of them. Don't write in it. This is like for our class to use. It's a class set. So right now in class we're doing page 17, 15 through 20. Don't write on it. Don't take it. Same paper. I'm gonna walk around and check for it tomorrow. So I have a projection if you're missing a packet. If you guys are short a packet, it's not good. Yeah, you can. It was right on the